Just let the rhythm ride, and I'll survive somewhere inside it. Let me strong with the bass and drum. I wanna run to the place I come. Silence is pain, stress and pressure. Paint my picture, so much pressure. Kill the quiet, play it again. Keep me alive, never let it end. So let the rhythm ride, and I'll survive somewhere inside it. Let me strong with the bass and drum. I wanna run to the place I come.
Welcome to another episode of Maniacal Music Users. We are back once again. We went on our Wisconsin death trip. We bled for days. Oof. I am, of course, your host, Jeremy, standing here once again in my Jesus Christ pose as always. And I will say, I'm usually pretty user-friendly, but lately I've just been so fundamentally loathsome that it's killing me. It's just killing me. But I'm back with my mechanical animal. And speaking of him, let me introduce him. My co-host as always. He's been in a kind of coma white these last few days. Not really laughing at much, but he doesn't want to be dissociative. So he's going to hop right back into this as he bled for days. But he knows the speed of pain. And he's going to push it through. As he sits in his room 1,000 years wide drawing flies. Motherfucking Chancey Greif!
Yeah, Chancey.
Okay, I didn't do bad that one.
Yeah, not bad, man.
I definitely would have had a better one if I wrote it down first and edited it, but whatever. I'll deal with it.
Yep.
But yes, faithful listeners, we are back once again to judge another rock contest, which it seems to be a lot of rock lately. We haven't been on to the rap in a good few episodes, but we'll get back there eventually. It all depends on what our guest brings, and that's the fun part of it all. But our guest tonight, I was on his podcast. Well, he is one of many. I don't want to leave out any of the other two, but I was on their podcast a couple months ago, talking good old paranormal stuff and music and everything else. The podcast. And with us tonight, the first half that we're going to have on, Phil. Next week we'll have Aaron, but this week we have Phil. How you doing today, Phil?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me. I've been checking out your pod, and the different versions. The paranormal stuff, the music, the brackets. I've been enjoying it all, so it's really a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. We always appreciate a fan, and we love having anybody on this pod because that's the great thing about the Musers. It's just anybody who has an album they think is worthy.
Right.
Anybody who has an album they think is worthy can bring it on. Vito, you'll be back on whenever you want to come back on, buddy.
Well, I mean, it's so like an album that maybe a very popular album. You guys may not have heard it by chance. Who knows? I have a feeling that's not the case with mine, but
I actually, funny enough, I haven't heard your album before this, but I'll get into that more when we get. I mean, I'm sure Chancey has. I had no doubt in that in my mind, but we'll get into that in a minute. Don't worry about that. But as usual on the show, because of the kind and courteous people that we are, we always start with our guest album first. So, Phil, you know the drill. What album did you bring, and why did you want to bring it?
All right, Jeremy. Thanks. So, I brought Bad Motor Finger by Soundgarden, the third album by Soundgarden from 1991. And the reason that I selected that one is because it kind of fit into a timeline that I'm very fond of. I got married in 1994, sort of on the fringes of the grunge scene, and was listening to Green Day and Alice in Chains and that type of stuff, even Pearl Jam, and the whole Seattle scene and music scene. But when I heard Soundgarden, which I think is like the most appropriate name for a band, by the way, because of all the divergent sounds and technical things that go on in the music that I don't really understand, fully, but appreciate. I found the Super Unknown album was high. It was like I think there was their fourth album after this one, which had Fell on Bad Days, Black Hole Sun, Spoon Man.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I sort of retrofit Bad Motorfinger into my library after discovering that album. And over time found myself playing it more and appreciating that album more than Super Unknown. I feel like first of all, Chris Cornell, I think, I'm a big Black Sabbath fan, right? So I think Cornell is one of the best vocalists in rock history. When I listen to him, you close your eyes and listen to him, you can imagine him singing some of the Dio, Black Sabbath. He can hit the same register that Ronnie could. He was, so you had that element right at the top. You had a great, technically sound singer. You had one of the top maybe 50 guitarists of all time, and Kim Thayil. But on top of that, they mixed all of these elements together, grunge, metal, alternative, punk. But the element that they really had that really fit my profile was the blues. There's a lot of blues in there. They seem heavily inspired by Black Sabbath and Led Zeppelin. I think Cornell was actually the talk was he's being recruited to be in Led Zeppelin at the time of the O2 concert when Robert Plant declined. So a lot of the tracks on those albums, that album, Bad Motorfinger, just blew my mind, And I don't know. Let me go over some of the tracks here. I won't list. We list our favorite, right? Our top 5 at some point.
Yeah.
After we all give our reviews, you do your top 5. Yeah.
Right. And okay. Well, so Slaves and Bulldozers. Oh, go ahead, Jeremy.
No, I was gonna say no. Go ahead. No, go ahead. I was gonna say, is that your review? But there's more. So go ahead.
Just a little bit more. Like Slaves and Bulldozers, I thought it was very innovative. The way that the guitar riffs kind of transitioned or start and stop. Not like Nirvana, not like any of those bands that were going at the time. Let's see.
Not like Static X.
No, not like Static X, which I actually enjoyed that album quite a bit. We'll get to that. Jesus Christ Pose, Rusty Cage. Johnny Cash redid Rusty Cage eventually on the American albums he did with Rick Rubin. I thought that's a great song that they introduced with that album. Outshined. So to me, that's kind of in a nutshell, kind of an overview of what I think of Soundgarden. It's my favorite alternative band. It's not my favorite metal band, but my favorite band from that era for sure. So, and to me, that's their best album.
All right. Well, since I know why you brought it now, I'll do my review first, Jancy, since I don't know. You went first last week. I mean, I know Soundgarden by name, and I know them by Black Hole Sun. Like everybody knows that song, but it's just, they're good to me. They're good to me. I just never actually sat down and listened to one of their albums because the occasion never occurred where I had one put in front of me and someone said, "You need to hear this." Like that's how I got most of my music. But that just with Soundgarden, it never came. No reason why. My wife listens to that type of music. As soon as I asked her, I'm like, "You know who this is?" And she's like, "Is it Alice in Chains?" Because she's like, "It's Chris Cornell, right?" I'm like, I don't know. I had to look it up, but I like Googled it. I'm like, oh yeah, it is. But so because I mean, I know the name Chris Cornell. I just never knew what bands he was in really.
Right.
But so yeah, I mean, it wasn't a bad album for damn sure. I enjoyed the hell out of it more than certain other album, but we'll get to that in a little bit. But he's just like, you motherfucker. but I mean,
Win some, you lose some.
Yeah.
but Soundgarden is good. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I mean, I actually have honorable mentions for it as well. So I mean, that's saying something right there. But Chancey, what did you think of Soundgarden?
I mean, I love Soundgarden. I liked them back when they came out. They kind of actually also always one band that Phil didn't mention was Faith No More. I always felt that Soundgarden and Faith No More kind of were on par, especially with talent singers. Like Mike Patton's a super talented singer. I can't really say anything bad at all because I got in on the ground floor with watching the video to Black Hole Sun when it came out. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And then, that was just right when that was shortly just before the internet took off out here. And then I just looked up everything and it was just like, oh, this is so fucking crazy. And then by the time I was able to see anything about them, they had already broke up. And then when they got back together, I actually got to see them out at Red Rocks. Luckily, I kind of snuck in there. What's up, George? Yeah, I literally snuck into that show, which is funny. But yeah, I love Soundgarden. I can't think of anything bad. I've got honorable mentions for my cut of the album as far as the rating goes. I had a good experience with pretty much all the albums this week so far. I mean, as far as I was always a fan of Manson, Static X. I mean,
Right.
Jeremy just doesn't know what good music is. I don't know, man.
You shut your dirty whore mouth, Chancey. You shut your whore mouth. My music has won over a lot of guests these last few weeks. Thank you.
You just got lucky. The sun shines on a dog's ass every now and then.
Well, you would know, Chancey, but
I sure would.
So I guess that's a teaser. We kind of know where Jeremy's going in at least one of his other albums. Huh?
Oh, I don't consider myself complete unless I get an intro on a first run, or get him to hate my album. So far, Sunhouse has kind of taken the cake as far as a number one most hated album I've made him listen to. I thought that Primus might have taken over, but
Which Primus
No.
album?
they can't all.
They
be
all
singers.
can't. Yeah, they can't all be singers.
Okay.
I mean, too many puppies. Like that just takes the cake.
Dude. Dude, the bass line is so sick though.
Yeah, Les Claypool. Yeah, he can lay down a bass line. That's for sure. I like Sailing the Seas of Cheese. I got that.
Yeah, that's a great album. Sail on the Sea of Cheese. Yeah, it's a great album.
Yeah.
I've thought about bringing it. Like, I thought about posting. Actually, I was looking at it as a potential choice for this week's show. I mean, that's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny that you actually even mentioned it, because I was just scrolling through and I was like, ooh.
Yeah. Don't you, when you go to a thrift store and you see like a great album like that with like a 20-cent sticker on it, don't you buy it just for the hell of it? It's like, nobody else is going to get this, right? I might not play it. I might stream it anyway, but I'm going to grab it anyway, and it'll look good in my car anyway.
Yeah, you can have that physical copy. I mean,
Yeah.
if I can get it, I mean, I've just I'd say within the past like 2 or 3 years, I picked up a massive vinyl collection that I've had to like physically go through and trim down just because I didn't have the room for it. Just I didn't know what to do with the money they were giving us for nothing. So like I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna buy records.
Mhm.
I went to a flea market and just bought boxes of records, and a lot of them ended up being like, first editions, like Van Halen.
Yeah.
And I'm literally looking at Sabbath Bloody Sabbath in the box right now.
Sweet.
I know it's bad. It's so awesome.
Chancy, why don't we let Phil give his top 5 for his album?
Fuck yeah, man.
Yeah. Well, I gave it some thought. I had to jot it down here because there were quite a few contenders. But we'll start with number 5, Outshined. Number 4, Drawing Flies. Number 3, Rusty Cage. Number 2, Jesus Christ Pose. And number 1, Slaves and Bulldozers. And my honorable mention, I mean, I could have counted down from 14. I mean, I like almost all the songs on the album. There's maybe 1 or 2 I could throw out, but Holy Water, Searching with My Good Eye Closed. I listened to that, threw that in because, man, I listened to that today at lunch, and I was like, okay, that's got to go back in. I hadn't heard this album until recently, maybe for 15, 20 years. And then Somewhere, which was something that their new bassist at the time wrote. And that's a killer song also. So, but Slaves and Bulldozers, I love that. The vocals in that is just insane. When he starts singing, bleed your heart out, and then the guitar riff, that's just like solid, man. That's just so good. So there's mine.
All right. Well, it's funny because we actually had a lot of the same songs, just not in the same numbers, mainly.
Okay.
Same.
But I had one honorable mention, and that was Outshined, because that was actually on my list pretty early, but it got pushed down every time.
Yeah.
But number 5 was Slaves and Bulldozers, because I did think that the guitar in that song was amazing. Number 4 is Face Pollution, which fuck. I meant to use that in the intro for you, Chancy, but yeah, Face Pollution is number 4. It was a good song. I like the lyrics in it. And number 3 was Room 1,000 Years Wide, because that song is kind of trippy. Like, it's deep as shit too. And speaking of shit, number 2 was Drawing Flies, because just that whole song, the lyrics, the guitar, everything about it was great. And of course, number 1 had to be Jesus Christ Pose, because it made me laugh.
Yeah.
And that might be one of my new sayings now is I'm in my Jesus Christ pose.
I read somewhere that they were intentionally cagey with the lyrics. They're not intended to be interpreted. There's so many ways that you can interpret it, and like Jesus Christ Pose was like sort of going after celebrities and people that are like act like they're so put upon, that they're actually the weight of the world and all this shit, and they're really over dramatic and manipulative, But
yeah, Zach, it makes sense. And I mean, it's honestly for an early '90s metal CD, this is actually really good. Like that's my bottom line for it, because I mean, there's a lot of them out there, and a lot of them are just all sounds the same, like some of the ones that somebody else here has brought on this podcast before. But Bush, but Jancy, you can give your top 5 next.
Man, I had 3 honorable mentions for me. Number 8 was Slaves and Bulldozers. Number 7 was Holy Water. Number 6 was New Damage. 5 was Outshined. 4 was Face Pollution.
Yeah, we matched.
Yeah. 3 was Searching with My Good Eye Closed. Number 2 was Mind Riot. and number one was Drawing Flies.
Solid.
Good list.
It was a solid album. I was like, fuck, I don't know, man. I knew I couldn't put out Shine too high on the list because that was the single basically off of it that they play that had got the most radio play.
Right.
So I was like, I can't lean too hard on that one, especially
This was like when MTV. Not only did they still play videos, you did recognize
right.
Played them enough where they became a part of the canon of the band. That Outshine video, Black Hole Sun especially. I mean, that was
for sure. That really like set the standard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which it was. I mean, like I said, Black Hole Sun. I definitely freaking know that one without even thinking about it. I mean, if you asked me 5 years ago who sings this, I'd be like, I don't go Nirvana, like, but like I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, but lately I've been hearing shit from different brackets we've done on Bracket Bastards, so I think Black Hole Sun is on one of them, if I'm not mistaken. But so that wraps up our guest album, and I think we'll go with my album next, just so I could save the roasting for last.
Best for last.
Roasting for last, but yes. Which the album I brought this week because I heard I previewed some Soundgarden. I'm like, all right, who am I gonna match with early '90s metal? And and I was just like, you know what? I've yet to bring Marilyn Manson on this show, and we're like 20 something episodes in, and I'm like, this is a travesty. It needs to be corrected right now, sir. So I was looking through his albums for like a second, and I hit Mechanical Animals, and I was like, yes, definitely the first one that's going on there. There's many more to come in the future, but that one's definitely the one that's going on there. And I mean, so yeah, I brought Marilyn Manson's Mechanical Animals, his third CD, I want to say, if I'm not mistaken. But
I think so.
yeah, it was the first one in his like big trilogy of CDs that were like the rock star albums of his '90s career.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it touches on life in such a perfect way, like especially to a teenager growing up in the 2000s. Like even then, it made sense still. I mean, it still makes sense to anybody, but it's when he was at his greatest. It's the greatest lyrics he wrote. It's just when he was at his prime. And Mechanical Animals is an amazing CD. So I had to bring it to match Soundgarden and the other band. But but as our guest, you get to give your review next there, Phil.
Okay. All right. So I wasn't a big Manson fan when he came out. I just felt like it was a little bit of a work. I thought, I love Kiss. I love theatrical rock and everything like that. But I was like, this guy, I don't know. But I love Beautiful People of Antichrist Superstar. Different things he did. Some of the covers like Sweet Dreams, they were cool. Atmospheric, creepy. I like that. It was dark. But I wasn't compelled to like dive in. I wasn't going all in. So I never heard Mechanical Animals. I did hear Dope Show. I like Dope Show. The video also was startling for the time. He had bigger.
Yeah, it was.
Pam Anderson. It was crazy. But when I listened to the album, I gave it one listen, and I think I commented to you, Jeremy, the other night. I was like,
you did.
I was kind of fighting through it. I was like, some of this stuff is just kind of just laying there, some of it, I know it's ambitious. It's an ambitious album. And I read a little bit about it, and it's like, well, it's a concept album. He's this character named Omega, who's an alien, and he's also another character that's in the world of reality or something. And And it's sort of it struck me. It was kind of like Ziggy Stardust. You know, okay, that's cool. Then I listened to it a second time, and it start, you know, it started to emerge with a little bit more resonance, I guess, and you know, I liked a little bit more of it. So, yeah, it's a good album. I liked, you know, I'll get into my rankings here in a second, but I like the harder rockers best. You know, I didn't like the one. What was the one towards the end? Second to last song about the end of the world.
Last Day on Earth.
Last Day on Earth.
Yeah.
I didn't like that. Reminded me of the Man Who Fell to Earth or something. I don't know. It's just, or, let's do it for our country or something from Greece or whatever. But I don't know. I didn't care for it. It seemed incongruous in the context of the rest of the album. But I liked, you know, I overall liked it, and I commend him for reaching and doing an ambitious record like that, and kind of emerging from the grunge space, you know, getting away from Trent Reznor, who was apparently a big influence on his Antichrist Superstar.
Oh, yes, he was.
So I give him credit for that, and there are definitely some good songs. I had no problem coming up with 5, and I even have a couple honorable mentions. So,
all right. Well, I'm glad you came around to it there, but. And Facebook user, we don't know who you are that's heckling us. So. There's a lot of options of who you could be, so that I could think of even. So I don't know.
Do I give my 5 here, or we wait till everybody gets a review?
Gotta wait till Sir Chancelot here gives his review.
Gotcha.
Oh, I mean, this is kind of where I met my Manson wall. Like everything else kind of, I can't really think of anything else after this that I really got into, but I loved the stuff before, like Antichrist Superstar, Smells Like Children. Just, you know, those are good albums. And there's
didn't Antichrist come out after Mechanical?
No, Antichrist Superstar definitely came out before Mechanical Animals. I'm pretty sure.
Instant feedback.
But I know, right?
Yeah.
Instant feedback. But I mean I even had a honorable mention with mine. It was not difficult for me to pull 5 out. The top 3 was almost immediately just off the top of my head, cemented in stone. Because I remember when it came out, I was just like, oh.
Top 12. But yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's like I said, it's a good album. I got no qualms with them.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I didn't get in. I didn't even say this in the beginning, but I didn't get into Manson until like he got done with like all his like first big albums, and like he went that little hiatus when he released his greatest hits. Like he went on a little bit of a hiatus for like 3 years, 4 years, and it was after that when he came out with the first album back in like 2007. That was the one that got me into him really, and then I went back to his old stuff and listened to all of it, and I fell in love with everything he ever did. I mean, some of his newer stuff is not as great as his old stuff, but it's still amazing. I mean, it's still Marilyn Manson, and his voice is just eargasm. Like, I listen to him and I'm in my happy place any day of the week. So, and not the freaking cover remake shit that he did, because I like that shit, but no, I need his original stuff he wrote with his own freaking pen. Like, and plus he wrote a really good biography. I will say that his biography is interesting as shit.
Yeah, I'd like to. That, you know, I'd be interested in that. Was that Rose McGowan in the Coma White video when he was
probably? He was.
Yeah, I think they were. Yeah, I was gonna say they were together for a while, so I think it might have been.
It would have been late '90s. He was with her. She was like one of the first big celebrity girlfriends he had. So.
Right.
So I mean, yeah, it's possible because he wrote a lot of songs about her after they broke up, but
I don't think they're so friendly anymore. I don't think.
No, I don't think they've been. I don't think they've been friendly in 20 years almost. But But well, as far as my top 5 go for this, I do have 7 honorable mentions.
Jesus Christ.
I could have pulled a Jeremy, but there's a couple songs I left off just for fuck's sake.
Literally only a couple songs.
It's Marilyn Manson, dude. Come on. Worship at the feet of the god himself. But
I don't know.
but yeah, so number 12 was New Mall number 15. Because I mean, amazing song. Not gonna go into all the details of the lower ones here because I got notes on the other ones. Number 11 was Great Big White World because it's just like the best opening track for this CD. And I mean, I like that he kind of starts it off and ends it on like the lighter notes and then kicks up the heavy in between. Like I like that. Like it's a good way to like tell a story. Like the birth is quiet and the death is quiet. Like that's a good metaphor, kind of.
Kind of building to a crescendo.
Kinda, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why number 10 was Last Day on Earth because I do love that song. Like that song is so trippy as hell if you're stoned. Like if you're stoned out of your mind driving, it's just like whoa.
I would be.
Chancey, you know,
I would be.
Chancey, you know what I'm talking about. But number 9 was Posthuman because about 3 minutes in, that like techno part, like dance club mix part that he does is freaking incredible. And it's just an amazing song. Like every song on the CD is freaking so good. I can't deny it. It is. I mean, this is one CD I never had to skip a song on. Well, besides maybe the 2 I left out once in a while, depending on my mood. But number 8 was Rock Is Dead because that was a classic like radio song. So like I kept it lower because everybody knows that song. But number 7 is when it gets serious, and that's Mechanical Animals itself, the title song. I mean, when I got into him as like a late teenager, the whole "I'm just a boy playing the Suicide King" thing like got to me so hard. Like every time I heard that lyric, I was just like, "Oof, that's rough. That's rough." Like that touches too close to home. But I don't know. That one stuck with me always. Number 6 was Fundamentally Loathsome. Because the guitar solo in the middle of it is freaking incredible. Like its musicians are so good. And plus the whole if I love myself I would shoot you. Like I could relate to that with so many girls I dated in college and after college. Like if I love myself, I would have fucking shot them. So like that shit.
I took note of that guitar solo too, Jeremy. I didn't like that song. I mean, if all the way up until then. And then when that guitar solo kicked in, I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, I forget what
2 minutes and 25 seconds in, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. I didn't wait the time for that one, but Chancey, what's the name of his guitarist again? I can't think of it at this moment, but I know it.
Twiggy?
Yeah, Twiggy Ramirez, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, which I mean, I love that his band did the whole thing where they each took like the first name of a famous like woman from like entertainment, and like the last name they took a serial killer last name. Like, I love that they did that to make the band. Like, that's just the coolest feature of a band.
That
like
band,
Marilyn.
sure, yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, but number 5 was "I Want to Disappear," because I used to relate that song in college all the time. Like, and sometimes these days I still do really do it, but become a hermit in the woods. But number 4 was "Speed of Pain," because that song is just like a freaking emotional roller coaster. Like, it goes from like a crazy breakup type scenario to like a love my life scenario almost. Like can't sleep on my back because there's a knife for every day I've known you. Like, ooh, that shit cuts deep. That line right there just cuts deep. Like, everybody's had that relationship in their life where it feels like that. And then at the end, when it's like the whole "I hope we die holding hands," like, it's kind of creepy almost the way it turns. Like, I don't know. At least to me it was. But number 3 was "Disassociative," because I've always been dissociative with society, so that song cuts deep as well. I mean, the world literally is killing me at all times because I hate this world. But so I love that song. Number 2 was user friendly because I love when Marilyn Manson goes dirty in his songs and just like makes like a dirty, basically makes like a pure sex song. And that's what user friendly was to me. Use me when you want to come. When I'm in you, I want to die. Like it's such like an abusive relationship song. Like it's just Marilyn Manson. Like I kind of see him and Rose McGowan's relationship ending in this one. Actually, if I think about it. But and of course number 1, and it would have been user friendly, but everything got pushed down to the last track on the CD because Coma White. One of my friends in college used to always tell me when I would listen to like the Marilyn Manson's greatest hits, he's like, "Why don't they have Coma White and Coma Black on this CD? Those are his 2 best songs ever." And I was like, "I don't know what you're talking about, but okay." And years later, when I finally heard these 2 songs, I was just like in shock. I'm like, "Why don't they have those on his greatest hits?" Like Coma Black and Coma White are 2 of the most amazing songs he did ever do. I think Coma Black's on Antichrist, but Coma White is just even better. I think it's like the best song he's ever done because it just hits reality for so many people more now than ever. But he didn't plan it that way. Like it's all about just the pills that are in this world that you can take for everything. Like literally, there's a pill for every little thing, and it's killing people. And the fact that he wrote a song about that was incredible. And the way he did it was just so storytelling way. Like plus that music, like I love it. I love like the weird ass music that he have in like all his songs. Like that's why he got big because he was original with the music, unlike a lot of the '90s bands, Bush. But that's my top 12 and the end of my tirade. But as a guest, you get to go next, Phil.
All right. Well, I like, a lot of the ones you mentioned there. I guess I've got 7 since I got honorable mention. So I'll start at 7. New Model, number 15. I liked, to me, I was like, that's perfect. That's the end of the album for me. Let's just put it that way. Coma White. I for all the reasons you mentioned, that is definitely a good capper on the album. A pill to make you numb, a drug to make you dumb, a pill to make you anybody else. All the drugs in the world won't save her from herself. That was pretty. That was a statement song. That was really cool. User friendly for the same reasons you mentioned. It was really, really dirty. It was like anger sex. It was really kind of lurid, creepy, which is, I think that's where he's got to stay. That's his wheelhouse. I Want to Disappear. Let me see. That one just melodically, I liked it. I mean, I just liked the riffs in it. I mean, it's just really good thumper. I don't like the drugs, but the drugs like me at number 3.
I couldn't put that on my list. I overplayed it too much in my youth, and I just can't stand it anymore.
Yeah, okay. So I think my top 3 are going to probably be the most popular songs on the album. Dope Show, number 2. Love Dope Show. That's really good. That's a really good song for Omega.
And the other song and that's the other song I didn't put on my list.
For same reasons, I assume.
No, honestly, I was just never a fan of it. Like it's just like too slow moving, too unlike him. Like it doesn't seem like his tempo.
It is unlike him. I think so. I think you're right there. I mean, it's not like the industrial metal at all. I mean, it's almost poppy, I guess.
I mean, and the video is kind of like trippy as hell, though. I do like the video.
Yeah, like wherever they filmed the videos for Blood Sugar Sex Magic, somewhere off in the hills, they were shooting this one in the same location. It's almost like it had that same kind of weird sky. Maybe they're like 2 suns or some shit. But I love Rock is Dead. I mean, that's just killer rock and roll. I mean, that's just that, that's the best song in the album as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, that's the one that was on his greatest hits out of this CD. So
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the first songs I ever heard from him, and I knew that song.
Well, and I'm sure that if I were a Manson aficionado, I'd have been sick and tired of that shit by now too. But there's a reason, I guess, why I wound up on that greatest hits. So.
I mean, it was on my list. Rock is Dead was on my list, so I mean, it's a good song. It's funny because neither of the drug songs ended up on his. Oh no, actually no. I'm sorry. The Dope Show was on his greatest hits, of course, but the other one, the better one, wasn't. But Chancey, sir, your top 5.
I had 2 honorable mentions. Coma White, Great Big White World. Number 5 was User Friendly. Number 4 was Posthuman. And then I pretty much went with the 3 pops. Like, I went Rock is Dead as number 3. I Don't Like the Drugs was number 2. And I like Dope Show. Dude, Dope Show was fucking bad. I liked it because it was for me, it was a welcome change of pace. Because, like, I remembered the first exposure I ever had to Manson was his cover of Sweet Dreams. And the way that he had his guitarist, muck around with the guitar lick like that. And then I also like the fact that you went through the whole, Beautiful People experience, which is just a shifting gears. Bam. And then
I gotta say, Beautiful People. That was actually my first exposure to Manson because of SmackDown.
Oh, right on.
Makes sense.
And then
theme song for many years.
Dope Show, that's just basically like, shifting back into, just into a different gear, because it's not slow, it's not soft, but it's not hard, but it also is all of those things. Because I mean, just that bass, just that grinding dump, just it just wears you down. I loved it. I don't know. I thought all 3 of the most popular songs on that album were probably the most popular songs in the mainstream concept. I do like Coma White though. I mean, I do agree with your friend as far as why isn't Coma White on the greatest hits albums, but I really haven't checked his greatest hits albums out, so I don't know.
It's called Lest We Forget. That's the name of his greatest hits album.
I remember. I remember when it was released anyway.
Yeah, I bought it at FYE when it came out. Not when it came out, but I found it at FYE one day and I bought it, and because I had a burnt CD of some of his songs, but I wanted the real greatest hits, so But I was happy with it. It made me get into him, and then I found all his other songs that are better than the greatest hits, or the so-called greatest hits. But well, that concludes talking about Marilyn Manson, unfortunately, because I can talk about him all day. And no, he did not take his own rib out to suck his own cock. So just putting it out there. He just
that was so dumb.
He just spelled that in his biography. So
you keep mentioning his greatest hits. What's that? I might check that out. I mean, there's enough there that those are greatest hits.
I mean, it's called Lest We Forget. That's
okay.
That's the name of it. They probably have more than one of his greatest hits albums now because they throw those together for every couple of years for every artist ever. But,
right. And then they start remastering them and adding every little track they have on the board and all that stuff.
Well, yeah, that's the funny thing with your CD, Phil, was with Soundgarden, the version I had on Spotify was remastered. So they had it was 4 CDs together, it was 2+ hours of listening time. Yeah. I mean, I only did the first CD because I'm I ain't doing all the outtakes and then the lives again. No, I'm good. But I'm I'll listen to the main CD. But
I went to YouTube and listened to it, and I think I listened to not the remastered, the original. Somebody put the original CD out there, and production wise, it didn't sound that great. It kind of showed its age. So probably the remastered version of that album would probably be the way to go.
Yeah. I mean, trust me. I mean, there's some CDs before that Chancey tried to make me listen to like the original version of it. I was like, yeah, I can't find it anywhere. So yeah, bye. I'll listen to the new one.
Yeah.
But the new one always remastered usually sounds better. I mean, I rarely find it's missing things. Like they usually make every little bit of it sound a little bit better. But
Right.
I mean, I've heard things remastered. I never heard in the original versions of songs. So, but that means we're moving on to the last CD, Sir Chance-a-Lots. Chancey, what CD did you bring, and why in the hell did you bring it?
I brought fucking Static X. It's fucking Wisconsin Death Trip, man. Dude, like when you picked Manson, I was like, okay, well, that brought me a little bit more forward. And I was like, well, let's flash a little bit more forward when I was, because like I remember we already did Disturbed. So like I would have brought that one. But I was like, no, I'll dial it out. I almost thought about bringing Faith No More as well as Primus as previously mentioned. But I came across one of the tracks off of Wisconsin Death Trip, and I was like, solid, easy top 5, easy honorable mentions. So I definitely went with so many great songs on there. There's a lot of them that I can skip, but there's equally the same amount that I could listen to, which will be illustrated by the rundown I have. I don't have 12 items on my list, but I got 3. I got 3 honorable mentions, but I'm curious to hear what everybody. It is a good album.
Yeah, not what I said, but
Oh yeah, but I had to correct you.
No, you didn't. But I'm gonna let Phil go first, of course, because he's the guest. You may give your review of Static EX.
All right. Well, my coworker Nick, and he picked this up from some, I don't know, like Nick Lafon or some shit. Talks about Cookie Monster rock. And that's where the vocalists, in these metal bands where they scream so loud, monotone screech that it sounds like the Cookie Monster. And I think that the DJ actually started screaming that shit. Something like I want cookies, listening to Slayer or something. So that's what I thought when I first heard the first track, Push It. I hadn't heard this album. I have friends that are metal fans that I talked to. I asked, hey, have you heard of Static X? Have you heard this album? And they had not heard of it. So I was truly indoctrinated here because I had never heard any of this. But I listened to it twice, and I read about the band. I saw that Wayne passed away in like 2014, Wayne Static.
Yep.
Read about the story of the album, that he had seen a book that featured all of these pictures of dead people and corpses and stuff from something that happened in Wisconsin. It almost seemed like a paranormal event or something.
Ed Gein.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was interesting. And then I listened to the whole album once, and I felt like there was more to it than Cookie Monster rock. It wasn't just, it was really heavy riffs, but there was some good singing in there. There was even some good backup singing on one track that I almost thought, well, that almost sounds like the Fifth Dimension crept into the back of the stage or something. It was like, I can't remember which track it was. I have it in my notes, but yeah, I definitely, I came up with 5 plus a couple honorable mentions. I really, really liked Oscillation. That's a
right.
Song. That song is really good. And apparently there's a story behind that, because Wayne apparently went to Western Michigan University or something. Which was near Otsego, the city of Otsego. And so that town appears on like all or 3 of their albums early in their career and stuff. So I ended up really liking. I'd have to say, I only got like 7 tracks, but I really did like the album. I can't listen to all of Pantera. I like Cowboys from Hell.
Right.
I do like some Slayer. But really my groove is more Metallica because there's more blues in it. Or Megadeth more so than this higher octane death metal or whatever. But this album, I think, finds a niche that I can really, appreciate. So I did like the album.
Nice.
Damn, I could have brought Megadeth. I didn't think about that, but
Motorhead, Motorhead, love Motorhead.
I've heard of Static X. I've heard of the band Static X, and I think for some reason I follow Wayne Static on Facebook. I don't know why, but I do. And I mean, they're not horrible. I mean, they're kind of like screamo to me, but James is like, "How dare you, sir? How dare you?" But I mean, they weren't bad. I got a top 5 pretty easy from them. I mean, I like the name of the album because I think Wisconsin Death Trip. I'm thinking of the Beast of the Land Between the Lakes. That's Dogman territory. So I'm thinking that's the Wisconsin Death Trip right there is going there. But I didn't mind it. It wasn't horrible. I mean, they're better than Bush.
Yeah.
Everything's better than Sunhouse. So I didn't think it was bad though. I enjoyed it to some degree, at least. I mean, it's not something I would ever actually like listen, just put it on my car while I'm driving, but I enjoyed it. But your CD, Chancey, what were your top 5 or 9 or whatever?
I had, like I said, I had 3 honorable mentions. Number 8 was Fix. I liked it mostly just because of the fact that it requires a lot of technical prowess to be able to say, tune it in, chill out, drop dead, I need a fix multiple times without error. And then go from doing that just fucking let it out. Fucking, you gotta concentrate. Then it's just an explosion.
Right. Kind of like vocal gymnastics or something. Some of the stuff
right?
It's like really rapid.
Right. Number 7 was STEM. Number 6 was I Am. And I mean, I love I Am. I Am's awesome. Number 5 was Ostigolation. Fucking love that song. Great song. Push It, number 4. I mean, it was their, I mean, that was what they used for the single. But for me, I mean, my favorites, my top 3, number 3 for me is Love Dump. I'm a sucker for a good sample, when it's, I can't believe I'm letting you do this to me, and then it busts into that fucking like, what the fuck? Fucking number 2, Wisconsin Death Trip. Fucking, it's a great fucking song. Also great vocals. And then number 1 for me is always, it's one of my favorite songs of theirs. It's I'm With Stupid. Fucking love that song. I can't even, like, just when ever since I first heard it, it also draws back to my undying love of a good sample. Like when she's all talking, do I grab my shovel? Fucking, it's what? What? I'm listening to the guitar riff, getting into the music. Do I grab my shovel? What? Yeah. Fuck yeah. Get your shovel. What are we doing?
Yeah. Most famous
and then I grab.
My name is
right. Right.
Right.
Fucking great album, man.
Well, Phil, that means it's time for your top 5 of Chancey's album.
All right. I've got Sweat of the Bud, number 7. I like that. Apparently, it's a play on a term. As I read what the meaning of the original term was, but I'm not going to look it up right now. Fix. I did like Fix. You know, it was the double entendre. You know, is he talking about a woman or is he talking about something else? You know, he's talking about drugs or whatever. Wisconsin Death Trip at number 5. I'm with you, Chancey. I like I Am. I think I've got Oscillation at number 3, but really these top 3 are almost interchangeable. So number 2, I got Trance is the Motion.
Trance is the Motion's fucking great.
Yeah. And you know what I thought of when I was listening to that? And I know we talk about Bowie because Manson's kind of like a glam rocker, you know, Ziggy Stardust. The riff in that, at the beginning of that, reminded me of a Bowie song called I'm Afraid of Americans. You know, it you know, really did. It reminded me of that to some extent. So I love that song too. But and then number 1, I got Push It.
Nice.
Yeah. So I like
actually,
the album. Yeah.
It's funny you keep saying like the whole David Bowie, because I mean Marilyn Manson actually looked in his biography. He looked up to David Bowie.
Yeah.
So I mean, he did take a lot of inspiration from him. That's the funny part. But
Well, yeah, Bowie's inspired everybody. Really.
But well, for my top 5, and I only had 5 because I mean I could have tried to pull an honorable mention or two out, but I mean they all sound too similar to me to freaking do that. But number 5 was STEM. That was one of the first ones to make my list, actually, I think. Number 4 is Push It, because that's a damn good song, and I just kept thinking of the Salt and Pepper song the whole time too. I don't know why, but number 3 was Bled for Days, because I actually did really enjoy that song.
Another good one.
And number 2 was Wisconsin Death Trip, because I love that song.
Nice.
And number 1, of course, was, because you both had it, but it wasn't high enough. Number 1 is I Am. Like that to me, I can't even think of who they sounded like. So, I mean, I don't know. It's just that's all I had. I mean, it wasn't a bad album, just not one I would. If it comes on in the car, my mixes, I'm gonna be like, boom.
Yeah.
So yeah. I mean, unless I'm in a mood. But well, that kills all 3 CDs for tonight, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know whose CD was really the winner this week. There was no CD that everybody loved, so like more than the other CDs, so much that like I don't know. We don't do winners in this show for that reason. It's just too hard to choose.
Right. I feel like I wanted to have honorable mentions, but I feel like you guys don't necessarily feel like you have to, right?
Well,
Yeah, it's your call.
Yeah.
I mean, there have been plenty of episodes where I have honorable mention for every CD, or at least 2 or 3 for every CD. Like it depends on what it is.
Yeah.
It's just the way it goes sometimes. A lot of Chancey stuff I don't, but on some of it does. I mean, Chancey's introduced me to some of my favorite bands now. So on this show, like,
Well,
DFD
I
for
like the
life.
premise of your show. I like the way that, like you said, like you told me, you know, it's introducing you to music. Like it's not like these bands haven't been around for 20, sometimes 30 years, but I had not heard either one of these full albums. It's
Yeah.
I'm really I've become exhilarated. Like on our show, we've reviewed some things that Aaron, who you're going to have on next,
Yep.
has introduced me to. He's very eclectic. I heard you guys talking about the Dead on your last episode, and I don't think either one of you are huge fans of the Dead, but he would go on and on about that. But yeah, so I think you guys got a really good show here. I really enjoyed listening to it. I mean, you know, I know I can throw one on when I'm out there grilling or driving to work or something like that, and it turns me on to some shit I've not heard before, and that's what it's all about, I think. You know,
Exactly. I mean, that's why we love doing the show. It's just
Yeah.
introduced me to bands I've never heard of that I like now, and Chancey, I think I might do that to him once or twice, but he knows about most bands, so I usually don't surprise him too much.
Mm-hmm. He's the he knows the catalogs.
I
Yeah.
got a weird variety thing. He surprises me a lot more than he lets on. I'm more surprised at his eclectic liking of the different European metal bands that he throws at me. I'm always like, what? We're gonna listen to this now? Like, all right, well, here we go. Fucking I wasn't ready for this one this week, but we're going down this rabbit hole.
There was a documentary a few years ago, and I can't think of the name of it, but the guy went down every type of metal there is, and he had a chalkboard, and he had listed something like 45 different sets of metal, death metal,
Yeah.
thrash.
I think it's called like the story of metal.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, that was entertaining. It was hilarious just to see,
It's crazy.
it's like,
Just know there's a metal band out there that likes to wear Transformer suits while they perform.
wow.
Yeah.
They performed at the
I
Gathering
mean-
of the Juggalos a couple years in a row.
That's pretty cool. I mean,
That is cool.
everybody's got. I mean, if you can't do it, if you can't do it right, you may as well have a good gimmick.
Right. Be theatrical, at least.
Someone should go tell Bush that. But
Lisa says she's a juggalo. I'm surprised she didn't take your invitation to come on, because
I
she
know,
tells me she's a juggalo. I really don't think she knows what a juggalo is, but she tells me she is one. She went to a concert with her family one time, and I don't believe that the Insane Clown Posse opened for them, but they were playing a lot of music or something, and she came home and she had a blast. She had a great time, got wasted and everything. And so ever since then, she considers herself a Insane Clown Posse fan. So
yeah,
we keep
Well-
working on her, see if she'll come on.
yeah, keep at her. We got all December open at this point. Actually, gotta start getting some bookings done, but I'm working on that this week.
Cool.
But we want to thank our guest Phil for coming on, of course. And Phil, tell the good people about your podcast for a minute.
All right. Thanks, Jeremy. Very nondescript title is appropriate because we pretty much interview almost anyone and talk about almost anything. It's sort of like us playing Grown Up or something. We do true crime, we do music, we do interviews, we do movies. We're probably a victim of being so vast in our interests. But the URL of our website is uh-huh.com. And all of our social media is at pod. So that's where we can be found. Be found on most platforms, Apple, Spotify. There we go.
Well, yep, check it out, folks. It's an interesting show. They get a lot of good guests, including yours truly. So, I mean, hey. But
Having fun. Yep.
Chance a lot, where can they find you and all your glorious gray beardness?
Well, I mean, when I'm not here, I can always be found in, of course, the Book of Faces, under my name, the Bracket Bastards podcast. I have an Instagram, pardon me, Instagram and a TikTok at the Red Eye Roundtable. I got a Twitter at Red Eye Table, and coming hopefully sooner than later, the resurgence of the Red Eye Roundtable, which is not too dissimilar from the podcast. It's just kind of a chop it up together and call it stew. I like that. I like the premise of it. It's always been it's a great thing. It's a good show.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, it's a lot of fun that way. Keeps you
Yeah,
engaged.
precisely.
Yeah, I actually have kicked myself a few times for not starting a show like that because there's so many guests that like I'd love to talk to, but they just don't match my show at all, so I can't do it really. Like I can't make it work and actually have people listen to it. So, but
Yeah.
I agree. But we have a couple shows coming up down the road, hopefully as well. Chancey and I are starting a couple other ideas, maybe, but working on it. Gotta find the time where the wife won't kill me for podcasting. But
Right. I know how that is. Yeah, she's killing me because she's into podcasts. So. I did a lot of booking today, and she's getting emails, and she's getting, the temperature's going up by the minute because he's like, "Oh my God, how many people have you scheduled?"
so,
Yeah, we gotta.
well, yeah, I mean, it's hectic always. I just literally edited like 8 podcast episodes yesterday, and then like 4 or 5 so far today, trying to catch up before my long weekend. But
Yeah. Anything most
Paranormal
fun though? I mean, good Lord. I mean, we started doing this because of COVID, basically. Lisa started
Yeah.
working from home. We couldn't see people. It was like, let's, we're going stir crazy. Let's just start a podcast and start, talking to interesting people and see how it goes. What the hell? What do we got to lose? And it's like, it just started to feed off of one show, fed off the other. It's like, I really enjoy it. The only thing I don't like is I enjoy the creative side of doing the editing and adding music and then shit to it. But it's like, talking to the people is really the best part. So that's what it's all about.
Oh yeah, the editing's obviously always the worst part, always. But having to come up with a show title and everything else and write a description, it's just like work.
Yeah.
But I mean, for this show, it's pretty damn easy actually because I'm used to it and I have a format. But for my other show, it's a lot like I gotta think of a lot more shit for it. So it's like,
Mhm.
But that's why I'm trying to get it all done at once because I'm already got stuff edited, ready to release, set up till the new year. So I'm good for a while.
Good for you. Good. That's good.
Yeah, it's good. Hopefully I can take part of December off from interviewing. We'll see. But for all of our listeners, you can find us on Facebook as Paranormal the New Normal / Maniacal Music Musings podcast with S Facebook group, which that name's going to be changing soon. I got to talk to Chancey about that. I have an idea. And you can find us on Twitter and the Gram as @JuggaloBastard. You can find us on TikTok as Juggalo Bastard Podcasts. And you can find us on YouTube just by searching the name Maniacal Music Musings. And we will be back next week yet with Aaron from the podcast. And he was flip-flopping on what he was going to bring, so I don't want to announce it now for him. But as soon as you'll see what it is next week, listeners. So, because we have no idea what we're bringing yet either. So, we will see. And have a good week, everybody. And thank you once again, Phil, for coming on. It's been a fun time with you.
It's been great, man. All right. Appreciate it.
Bye, Chancey.
Bye.